Awesome. So, welcome everybody. My name is Suzanne Brown. I am the Youth Exchange Officer for Walkerton. I'm also the co-outbound coordinator for District 6330. So, you'll hear that a fair bit. You'll see Kirk is also on the call, and he is my co-coordinator with me. This is my first year doing this. So, a little bit of a background on me. I was an exchange student 25 years ago or so to Mexico. So I have been where you guys are now, as well as my oldest son went to Finland during COVID, actually. He went during that, didn't come home. He lived and breathed it there and refused to get on a plane to come back to Canada. So I've had a son go out for your parents. If you guys have any questions, I have been there. I totally get it. It's kind of what you're probably thinking right now. And I have hosted exchange students for a large percentage of my life as well. So I think I've been there, done that. I've been involved with Rotary for uh, almost 5 years now. I am the current president of the Rotary Club of Walkerton as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can put them in the chat. Kirk is kind of going to monitor the chat a little bit. If you have questions as we're kind of going along, then feel free to ask them at any time, whether it's just raise your hand or it's a small group. So it's feel free to ask at any point for it. We will have a question period at the end as well, though. So whatever is easiest for you guys. And I don't think so. You guys all probably know Sue already. These are all your students. Um, so Sue is YEO for them, or is the inbound chair even for our district as well. So you'll get to know her a little bit well as well. You'll hear me use the term YEO a fair bit. So it's Youth Exchange Officer. Each club will have a Youth Exchange officer that is involved with youth exchange. So they're the ones that help with your club, and when you go abroad, you also have one in the club that you're going to be staying with as well. So you'll see that. Ross Burnett is not on right now, but he is our district chair as well. But you will get to know him soon enough too. I think that's all. So you'll hear me say also District 6330. That is our district here. And it literally ranges from all the way in Tobermory to the north, and it actually goes right into Michigan as well. And it's made up of all different clubs that basically make up the district itself. So you can kind of see where we are in the map. It's a fairly large district. So you guys are all Canadian, correct? Everybody is? Okay, awesome. Perfect. So what is Rotary? So it's a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, problem solvers, kind of anybody can be a Rotarian basically. And obviously you'll learn a little bit more about your club itself. But Rotary basically hosts the youth exchange program. So you'll be expected to be a part of your club and to join in activities before you go, during you go, and then when you come back as well, basically for that. So what is Rotary Youth Exchange? So it is basically, we host as a district, 6330, that you'll be involved with us. You'll be doing your training with us, with Kirk, myself, Sue, Ross, and a handful of other Rotarians while you're with us. You are expected to do training, and it is a program that is a school-oriented program. You will be expected to go to school while you are there. Kirk, do you have anything to add for that one?
No, I think that's about it. Yeah, basically it's both a cultural and academic exchange, but like
Yeah.
Suzanne said, basically what that means is you are required to go to school. You're not a tourist, right? You're not, oh, I want to go to France and go see the Eiffel Tower every morning. No, you do go to school. That's really probably the biggest thing there. Yeah.
It is mandatory that you do go to school during your time while you are there. Even if you have graduated here in Canada, it is a mandatory thing that you do go to school while there. So
Olin has heard me say this, but it's not a vacation.
Yes, it is not a vacation. There's definitely times where you will feel like it's a vacation and it's like the most amazing year of your life, for sure. You'll hear us all say that. Sue is an exchange student as well as Kirk was an exchange student. So you'll hear us talk very openly that it was probably one of the best years of our lives. We went, feels like many years ago, but it still is, like, I can easily say probably one of the best years of my life. And I hear that from, I think, every exchange student still to this day. So our mission is, one of our primary goals is promoting world peace. as well as through Rotary Youth Exchange Program. It aims to make the world a more peaceful place, one exchange at a time. Terminology. So this is where you're going to hear a fair bit. The main ones that we're going to focus on today, because it's going to be a lot of information that you're going to take in, are you'll hear me use the terms inbound, outbound, rebound a fair bit. So inbound are the students that are actually in our country right now, for instance. So you'll have you'll meet them eventually, but it's the students that are have already gone abroad and are currently in a different country. Outbound, you will be an outbound student. So you are going abroad but haven't left yet. And a rebound is one that has returned from their exchange already. So I'm just seeing Mariella come in. Mariella, do you want to talk now? You're muted, honey. There we
hi
go.
everyone. Good morning. Can everyone hear me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit
All
choppy,
right.
but it's good. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm using our university's Wi-Fi, so I was using it. So anyway, I just got off from class, and I'm really glad that my professor is very considerate for me to have this talk right now. So just a little bit of introduction. I'm Ariela Lisandra Deslate. I'm from the Philippines. I was a Rotary Youth Exchange inbound to Canada last Rotary year, 2022 to 2023. And currently, I'm here to share to everyone my experience abroad and how it molded me as a person, as a student. Um, Let me start by saying that Rotary Youth Exchange Program changed my perception about the world, about the people around me, and about myself. First of all, when I was in abroad and I realized that I'm doing something big, I'm doing something that helps, globally, that helps build bridges between nations and helps um, promote peace and harmony among different countries. And I think that was very fulfilling, especially at a young age of being a teenager and being able to go out of my comfort zone and being able to go abroad, meet this multitudes of personalities and people. And it was just very um, fulfilling in my part to know that I'm doing something good. And, being an exchange student is being an ambassador. The idea of being able to represent your country to, other countries and being able to adapt a culture, learn a culture, share your culture, it's a very beautiful feeling to feel. And as an exchange student, I think and I believe that we are agents of globalization, and it really helps with technology and the modern world right now, where we are able to um, culturally exchange and socially interact. Exchange student has a great role in um, promoting that kind of world. For personal growth, exchange program pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I realized that I can be more than someone I used to know myself. I discovered that I'm more than capable of things that I never knew I could have done. Like, Philippines does not even have wrestling. And I went to Canada and I did wrestling. And that was awesome. I did skiing. We're in a tropical country and there's no snow. It wasn't really my favorite, but I did it. And exchange program is the one that Rotary Youth Exchange Program is the one that pushed me to do it. And secondly, it really helps with you building your social skills, especially um, making long-lasting relationships with your host families, with your fellow exchange students, and of course with people in your school. Actually, I've been wearing this locket every day. And this locket has been a gift from my friends in Canada. And it was so sweet of them. because if you open it, it's a picture of our friend group. Can you guys see it? Yeah. So like things like that, you will be able to experience that in an exchange program, and it really, helps you to grow, to be a better version of yourself. And I am so excited for everyone who started their exchange journey, and I really hope that it's gonna be life changing for you as it was life changing for me. So I think that ends my sharing. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful year and journey. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mariella. We miss
Thanks
you.
so much. Yeah, so good to
Miss
see
you,
you.
everyone. Yeah. Oh my
Awesome
Come
God.
back
job.
and
Thank
visit
you.
soon.
Mhm. So I'll just gonna go back to my class. My professor might scold me. So you guys have a good conference, and I wish everyone luck. Bye.
Thanks, Mariella. Take
Thanks,
care.
Mariella.
It's good to see some familiar faces.
All right, just let me share my screen again there. Sorry.
So Mariella had definitely a full of adventure year for sure. So she's got lots of stories from skiing to lots of different things that we did with her. So let's not switching again, Kirk.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure. I don't know what I just did there. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Let's try this. All right, now I
There
think
we
you're seeing
go.
it. Perfect. Okay, sorry. Let's keep bouncing then. I think you'd
No
gotten through
worries.
the slide.
Yep, we did about open rebound. Yep,
Cool.
we're good
Okay.
with that one for now. So Julia's here as well. So we can have Julia do her chat for it. So welcome, Julia.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess first I'll just introduce myself. So I'm Julia. And I was an outbound from Stratford to Brazil in 2022 to 2023. So I just got home 3.5 months ago, around that. So pretty recently, which is really crazy to think about. But yeah, so where to begin? It's a year of craziness. For me, it was such an amazing experience. And I'm gonna be honest, it's very hard, but you'll have, like, everyone will have some sort of problem at one point. But the amazing part of Rotary is they will help you so much. If you have a problem, there's a gigantic support system from Rotary on this side, like from Canada, also from your group of outbounds. So the other exchange students who you'll meet before you go on exchange, they're an amazing, our group was all very close. Like, we still talk to this day. And also your club in your host country. So if you do have problems, there's a lot of supports there. And in my case, I did have quite some large problems, but even now, looking back on it, it was the most amazing year ever. The memories I made of traveling, meeting amazing people, just learning a whole new culture is just unforgettable, and it outweighs the bad by 1,000%. And yeah, you'll make friendships from all around the world. I talk to my Brazilian friends every day. I have friends all over the world. Like, I'm going to Denmark in December to visit my Danish best friend. Just the opportunities that exchange will open for you is just endless. And yeah, I think that's about it. I don't know if there's anything you want me to add, Kirk.
No, I think that's great. I just want you to do the whole thing in Portuguese now, because I know you can. And you couldn't do that a year. And I can tell you, you couldn't do that a year ago. So
I still write Portuguese really well because I talk to my friends every day, but speaking is a whole nother story.
Well, you speak Portuguese very, very well. And that was definitely something you learned while you were there, which is really cool.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julie. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All All right, sorry, sharing the screen again. I want you to be able to see the people that are talking full screen. So I have to unshare and then share again. Probably gonna have this planned out a bit better, but we're good. All right.
There we go.
Again? Perfect.
No, it worked. Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. All right.
Awesome. So why choose Rotary? I'm sure you've heard of the other clubs or other organizations that are out there that do exchanges. You might have some even in your school system. We are very passionate, obviously, about Rotary. We are all volunteers, is a big part of it. We do not get paid anything where this is something that we all live and breathe. Otherwise we wouldn't be here ultimately. So the couple big key parts of it, that our orientation and training process is extremely thorough. You'll find out a little bit more about that in a couple more slides, but there's mandatory training that we do with all of the students to prepare them to go abroad, as well as in return, they also come and join us to come back and climatize back and to be Canadian again, because it is almost just as hard, I would say, truthfully, coming back as it is when they go there with culture shock. So we help them with that. You're hosted by a Rotary Club and host families. There's tons of activities that happen within your district before you go, as well as while you're abroad, as well as like your host families do an enormous amount of things for you. Just even living with a host family is an amazing process, and you'll thoroughly enjoy that. And you'll have likely more than one host family while you are abroad. Most of the time you do. As well as you have a huge support network. And you heard like our Julia say that too, that we have some amazing people that are here to support you guys, well, before you go, as well as while you're gone and when you come back. That we're all experienced in youth exchange, and we're a wealth of knowledge basically. And it's a much lower cost through Rotary compared to through other organizations, basically, for it. Just because we are volunteers, we try to keep the cost down as much as we absolutely can for you. And we have agreements like with our school systems that you're not paying to go to school essentially while you're there, versus those other ones. 9 times out of 10, you're actually paying the school boards. And even when they come here, they're paying thousands of dollars just to go to the school. So you don't have that with Rotary. Okay. So where can I go? So it ranges. That's probably the biggest question that we get. You can go like South America is wide open, Europe, Asia. There is a huge list of countries that you will basically get to number when you get a little bit further into the application process that you would like to go to. But this is not the exchange for you. If you are specifically saying that you only want to go to Japan and that is the only country that you want to go to, you only want to learn Japanese, this isn't the program for you. We will not guarantee that you are going to be going to Japan, even if it's your first choice. You might get your third choice. We can't guarantee that. We, like as a district, don't make that call. So if that is the case, then come chat with us, sort of thing, and we'll explain the process of it. But the big thing that we always say is, be excited for the experience, not the country. And I'm a firm believer in the country that you get chosen to go to, it is the country that you're supposed to be in. You may not realize if it's your third choice, you might be a little bit disappointed, but trust me, you will look back once you get there and look back after you spent a couple of months there and go, this is where I'm supposed to be 100%. This is my country. And I hear that a fair bit. Like my son got his second choice, for instance, and he was a little bit disappointed when he didn't get his first choice. But looking back, I would say he's probably more Finnish now than he is Canadian even. And it was 100% his country that he should have gone to, and he did. So still an amazing experience, no matter what country you go to.
I was also going to add, so there's a big conference that we have, a training conference that we have every July in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I remember one year, this was a few years ago now, but one year, one of the presenters was a student who got their last choice. Like this was a while ago. So you used to do like 28 choices or something. And this person got like their very last choice. And they'd asked them to be a guest speaker. And, when you start a presentation like that, we're like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. And she was like, I loved it. I'm in love with the country. I would go back in a heartbeat. But she said, more importantly, I would go to any country now, because if I can get my last choice and still love it as much as I do, then any country is going to be incredible. And so it really changed her perspective on thinking about like Suzanne said, some people, I want to go to France and I want to eat a baguette and I want to learn French, or I want to go to Japan. I want to, learn Japanese. Be excited for the experience, because no matter where you go, there's going to be incredible experiences that you're going to get to enjoy.
Absolutely. Teo's not here, is he?
No, he bailed on me. So no, we'll pass
Oh,
by
Teo.
Teo. All good. No,
Teo is one of our students that just
no.
returned home from
Yeah.
Switzerland. So
Yeah.
awesome. So kind of going over the whole process basically. So right now you're doing the application process. You've probably submitted your first part of it. Have you guys done your club interviews yet? No,
Those are
not yet.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Ah, okay, perfect. Don't stress. It'll be fine. Don't worry. And then in November, we have district interviews where you'll come with your parents and be interviewed basically again by a group of Rotarians and some rebounds. And then from there, all the students will attend training sessions and orientation sessions with us. So that's the first year basically of being an outbound. And then there's the exchange year where you're an inbound at that point, where you're living in your foreign country, you're adapting to the new culture, new customs, learning a new language, living the best year of your life, basically, is your second year. And then your third year is your rebound year, where you're coming home to reverse culture shock. And I can say you are probably thinking, I don't want to live here in Canada anymore. I want to go back to my country where I was just living. So we help you with that reverse culture shock. And then you're welcome to join. There's other programs after that you can join, like Rotex, to stay involved if you'd like to as well. So it's basically a 3-year program that we view it as. Okay, timeline. So right now you're doing your application process and hopefully you're starting it. You'll start it right away after you do your interviews tomorrow. Then November, we have our district interviews, and then you'll find out whether you are accepted into the program pretty quickly. In January, you'll find out, usually the first or second week of January, you find out which country you are going to. You will not find out specifically where you're going at that point, but just your country. And then in March and April, July, you'll be doing your orientation conference. These are mandatory conferences, and I stress that now, they are mandatory. It doesn't matter whether you have prom that weekend or if you have something else going on. We'll give you the dates ahead of time, so you will know, just kind of the heads up. But they are mandatory conferences because they really do aid in preparing you guys to go abroad. Now, parents, there's also some days where you get to join us in this as well to prepare you for your child going abroad, and preparing you for when they come back, because they are not always fun when they come back either. So we are there to support you guys just as much as a parent. Been there, done that, and it's tough letting your child go. So we help you with that process too. And then July and August is typically when you depart on your exchange. So you'll be gone. Usually it's under a year. You'll come back typically in July, and then go to Grand Rapids to another conference as soon as you guys come back, because Grand Rapids is like the best conference ever. So, and it's in Michigan. So that's kind of your 2 years basically of the process of it. So qualifications. So you must be between the ages of 15 and a half and 18 and a half and not have graduated on August 1st, 2024. Are you guys all going to fall into that, or is anybody going to be over the age of 18 and a half and graduate at that point? We're all good? Okay, awesome. Don't have to worry about it. Top half of your class academically. So we do require that in the next application. You'll see that from your teacher, from your school. Be a strong ambassador. So get involved. You're that person that wants to be out there, do different things, be informed, be an upstanding citizen and student, basically. We want you to represent Canada. You're an ambassador of our country. So we expect you to be on your best behavior at all times for that. And willingness. Willingness to learn a new language, a culture, to get involved. It's being very open-minded, trying new things is a key part of it. So those are the main things right now. There's a lot in the application though that you'll see in the next one too.
And I think just to add on to that last part about the willingness and initiative to learn language and culture and get involved, it's also saying yes to everything, right? A lot of times someone's open-minded or willing, but only in things that they kind of want to do, or only things that they sort of already had in mind, something that they're interested in. One thing we tend to find in exchange is students come back and go, I did things that I never even thought I cared about. I did things I didn't even know existed. And I really ended up enjoying it. So one thing we're looking for is that student that doesn't look and say, well, it's not really on my bucket list, so no, I'm good. Instead, the student that, you know, Georgie, I ask her, no matter what I ask her to do, she goes, yeah, let's go. You want me to go grocery shopping with you? Sure. That's great. I want to see all the flavors of chips in Denmark. That sounds like a really fun time. You know, and when Maya say, hey, can you help me with dinner? She's like, I actually hate seafood. Yeah, let's do it together. Sure, why not? Right. So those people that are just willing to try new things instead of people that are a little bit more, yeah, well, it doesn't fit into what I already like to do, so I'm not really interested. Because like we said, if you're just excited for the experience, you don't really know where you're going to go yet. So you got to be really open-minded to that potential of, you know, stuff you might not have been familiar with or open to before.
Absolutely. And we've already chatted with Mariella. So the cost. So this one's a lot for the parents, but kids as well. So currently the program costs $8,500. That has not been finalized. We're expecting to say right in there is what we are expecting. So what does that include? That's your flights there and back, your insurance that we do require them to buy. Central States insurance is what it is. It covers everything, literally everything. All your orientation conferences are all covered. They take place, majority of them are in London. So it includes everything there while you stay there, your food, absolutely everything, your room and board while you're abroad, tuition at your school, and you get a monthly stipend as well from their club that is hosting you in your country. So you will receive an allowance basically while you're there. Things that are not included, a language camp. There are a handful of countries that require you to do a language camp when you arrive in your country. That's not included. You will know ahead of time if you are going to a language camp or not. We can probably tell you a good chunk of them as well. And they do range in cost for that. Your passport, you're obviously required to have a passport, and your visa cost, depending on the country that you're going to, the cost, it's a wide range basically with that. And any spending money, any in-country Rotary trips, some Rotary clubs will cover it in your host country, some don't, it just depends, but that is all to be taken care of by you.
And we should mention as well with that $8,500, so that covers everything listed here. But what that doesn't cover is if Nolan ends up in Denmark and wants to buy a whole new wardrobe so he fits in really well with the Danish people there, and he spends, you know, $20,000 on really cool Danish clothes, that kind of stuff isn't covered, right? So like souvenirs and gifts and stuff you buy like for yourself, that kind of stuff isn't included. So this kind of gets you to the country and make sure you have a home in the country, that sort of thing. But sort of the incidentals are going to be up to how much you want to budget and how much you want to spend. All right. So the year will cost more than $8,500, but the $8,500 covers, you know, I'd say the vast majority of your expenses along the way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that.
She just signed back in. So good
Hi,
time.
sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Let me just stop sharing so we can highlight you for a second. 1 second here. All right. So Natalia, it's all you. Take it away.
Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Natalia from Brazil, and I spent my year in Kincardine, Ontario. So I chose some highlights of my year to talk to you about. And the first one was like the changes in my personal life. The first one is that I decided what I wanted to do in college because of a field trip from my school that was to university, and we got to talk to students from that university, and one of them was Brazilian. And we talk about how like the whole experience was, the culture shock, everything, and the paths that I had, the options that I had. And it was a very like life-changing experience that I didn't expect, which was like a field trip, and it ended up changing so much for me. And certainly meeting people from different countries, it seems like a normal thing, but it's like so fun. Even the simple conversations are so like awesome, and it's so fun to meet them. I still talk to them like every day. We're so close, and that is very nice. It's a huge support system that we have, because like it's the people that are experiencing the same thing as you. And during my exchange year, I felt kind of like nobody could understand me because it was such a different thing I was living, and nobody in my country, like nobody in Brazil could understand, and also nobody in Canada could understand. But then when I met those people, we could talk about all those things that we were feeling. And we are like, oh yeah, I feel that too. And that was very nice. We could talk about it. And Also, like, just seeing how people live in a different place, with a different, like, the weather is very different from Brazil and Canada, and seeing how people did, and like just the normal things, how they dealt with it. It was very nice. The language learning was very nice. It's a whole experience that like is just so unique and special. I made so many memories. I traveled to a lot of places. I also traveled to the US. We met a lot of people there too. We did this trip with like 52 people, I guess, and like 15 different countries. So it was also very cool. And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalia.
That's awesome. I really liked what you said about, no one really understands you, because I know for a lot of the students, they say, the problem with being on exchange is when you write back home, or you're like maybe FaceTiming with someone and you're like, yeah, like it's been 2 months and I haven't seen my family or anything. And all your friends at home can do is go, yeah, one time I went to summer camp for like a week and it was really hard. And you're like, no, not quite the same thing. No, I literally am thousands of miles away from my parents. I haven't seen them for months. So you're right that when you're with other exchange students, they're the people that can go, I know exactly how you're feeling. And you connect with these people really strongly in a way that you don't necessarily connect with other friends, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Natalia. All right,
And you'll
Suzanne,
hear the
back to
exchange
you.
students, you'll hear the exchange students talk about how they pick up the language as well. That is, we do some language training before you go away as well, that you'll be chatting with some inbounds as well as some rebounds to assist you in learning the language of your country that you're going to. But ultimately, being in the country that you are immersed in the language, you pick it up so much quicker than sitting in a French class, for instance, of, how many years did we do French, but can we speak it fluently? Not necessarily, but being immersed in that culture, sitting with your host parents that only speak French or whatever language, or in classrooms, you pick it up so quickly that it's amazing to always see the transformation between even Mariella and Natalia. Just hearing their English now, it's amazing to see that. So we are also always looking for families to host students while they're here. It is not a mandatory thing for our program that you are not expected if your child goes out to host a student. But we always are looking for families to host within the community itself. So if you're interested, definitely chat with Sue or with someone in your club about that. It's a really incredible experience that you will never forget. I am still literally very close with my host families from I went to Mexico, and I still chat with my host sisters a fair bit. They've come to visit me. It's a really cool experience for sure. So just keep that in mind for the future. So frequently asked questions. So do I need to be proficient in a language of my host country? No, you don't. But there are some requirements that some countries will have, and we will help you with that ahead of time for it, as well as you could have a language camp for it. We do expect our students to have the very basic skills before they go, just to help them ultimately when they do arrive. But like I said, we do assist them with that. We can hopefully hook them up with a rebound student or an inbound student that can assist them that actually speaks the language for that. Will there be other exchange students in the same host family? Every district ultimately has their own kind of way of doing it. So it's not likely that you will have one staying with your host family. Will you have one in the same town or city that you're with? Potentially. But you usually are given the opportunity to meet with all the other exchange students when you have district conferences. So you will meet other exchange students while you are abroad for sure.
And I was going to mention as well sorry, Suzanne, I was going to mention as well, sometimes, so this question gets asked because with a lot of programs where the family is paid to host a student, it becomes a bit of a money-making endeavor, as sad as that is. So what happens is, they'll say, hey, we can take 3 or 4 students. And instead of sort of being like a host family that they're there to bond with, it's treated almost like a little bit like an Airbnb, where it's like, I'm just here to feed you, make sure you're safe. And so with the Rotary Youth Exchange Program, one really big difference is that we don't do that, right? We're not, our host host families don't get paid. So there's really no financial benefit to hosting a student or anything. So they're hosting, especially in our district, because they want to host, right? So what that means is that you're not going to kind of usually wouldn't end up in a home and have, 8 other exchange students because the family's being sent a bunch of money to host you. So it's just, I think parents especially appreciate knowing that, if the families are hosting you, they're not getting money to do it. So there's no financial benefit to being a host family.
They're 100% hosting for the right reasons is the way that I look at it as. So like I said before, we are all volunteers. So these parents are welcoming their kids, like your kids, to their families, basically. So are there certain vaccinations that are required? Yes. Certain countries will have requirements for that. You will know ahead of time for it, and we will help you through the process of what is going to be required depending on which country you are going to. Does my family have to host an exchange student if I go on exchange? No. We've just reviewed that one. You do not have to do that. And do my parents or anyone in my family have to be Rotarians? No. I actually wasn't a Rotarian when my son went abroad. I joined after the fact. It is totally up to your parents. If you want to join, fantastic, but it is not a mandatory thing for it. But come check out a local club that it is a fun time for sure. Okay, so the next steps that you guys have to do. So tomorrow you have your interviews. Good luck. I'm sure you will do fine. So right now you've already completed your preliminary application and you're meeting with your local Rotary Club tomorrow. And then after that, once you hear from Sue, then you will begin your next application. The next application is fairly extensive. So these start it right away as soon as you get the go ahead. Make all your doctor's appointments right away, dentist appointments right away, because there is some things that could take a little bit of time just to get into for that. So start it right away. And then plan to attend our district interviews, which is November 4th. So plan, that is a mandatory thing, plan to be there as well as your parents to be there for it. And if you don't have a passport, then apply now. Or if your passport's going to expire within the next 2 years, you need to apply for that as well. So kind of a couple key things to keep in mind that we need to be done right away. If you have any other questions, yes, we'll take some questions after this as well, but you feel free to reach out to Kirk, to Sue, or to myself. There's my contact information at the bottom as well, but you'll see us on the Facebook page as well, that you can contact us.
I would also
through
mention
that
just with the passport. Sorry, Susan, I was going to mention with the passport, if you do your interview tomorrow and it goes well, the Rotary Club calls you or Sue calls you and says, hey, you're moving on to the next level. Great job. If you don't have a passport, you want to apply for that right away, like ASAP, within a couple of days, because the passport can take a while to arrive and it is a required part of your application. All right. And if you need to get it renewed early, like if your passport's good for another 4 year or another, year and a half, and so you're going to have to do an early renewal, then we can get you a letter to explain why you're requesting an early renewal that you would take when you go to apply for your passport. Okay. All right.
So questions,
slides,
does anybody have anything for us?
Feel free to just unmute yourself if you do have a question. No question is bad. Listen, not many people send their kid away for a year. So you're either really, really bad children and your parents really don't want you there, or something's going on. I'm just kidding. No, but we know that these aren't questions that, get asked or answered every day. So please don't hesitate to ask any question, big or small. So, Georgie.
Yes, I do have a question. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I needed to raise my hand or not.
Okay.
But anyway, if you're doing exchange, for example, if someone was exchanged Canada, and would they be in St. Thomas their whole year? What's like the same school the whole year?
Yeah.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So when you go on an exchange, pardon, sorry?
So if she has 3 host families while she's away, is she staying at the same school the whole time? Are they within the same area, or does she move around?
Yep, it'll typically be so. For instance, like if a student comes to St. Thomas, they will continue to be in that same school in St. Thomas the entire time. The host families will be within that school range ultimately. So you could be living in the center of the city for your first host family, and then your second host family, though, could be 5 minutes out of town. You could be living on a farm, but you're still going to the same school. You're within that same area. Absolutely. Yeah. We're not changing schools, nothing like that. Absolutely not. And your same host club is going to host you for the entire year. So kind of keep it in mind that way. Yes.
Your visa that you apply for, the paperwork comes from your school, and that school is basically saying that yes, she is allowed to study here for the year. So it's not sort of one where you can just bounce around any school you want. You are at that school. You're a student of their school for the year. Yeah.
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked.
That is a
it.
good question.
That's,
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever really been
Thank
asked
you.
that. Yeah.
No.
I was assuming you stayed in the same area, but you want to make sure you know.
Well, and it's good too, because like we said, you don't want to take it as a vacation. So you wouldn't really want to be bouncing around, right? You're basically trying to create a life in the span of a year. And in order to do that, if you're moving all around, you're not going to make many friends. You're not going to make many connections. So when you stay put and you have that kind of host school, a host family, a host area, you can meet a lot more people well, sorry, not meet a lot more people, but the people you meet, you can make connections with them.
Yes.
And from every family, you learn something different. Every family has its own vibe, its own rhythm. And, I had somebody say, oh, I really like my first host family. Can I just stay with them? No, we've planned. It's a lot of work for families that apply for this and to host. And each family, whether they intend to or not, will give you or share with you and teach you a different part of the culture. And that's really how you grow, is learning through those families as well as at school and Rotary.
And if you think of, again, with the host families, if you think of, so I live in outside of Strathroy. Strathroy has a huge Dutch population. It's got a huge Portuguese population, and then it's got a really big, just sort of white Canadian population, right? So if you were put with a Canadian Portuguese family and you spend your year here, you're from Japan, you spend your year here, you're going to go, oh, that's what a typical Canadian family is like. But a lot of those things they're doing might be more because of their Portuguese heritage. So if we move you to different families, through all of those families, you'll see what kind of the similarities were and go, oh, that kind of is what makes up a Canadian family versus just that one family being exactly what the experience is, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to build on that too with like my three families. I first lived with a single mom, so it was just she and I. And then my second one was mom, dad, very high professional. They weren't home a lot. They had very busy careers and two teenagers. And the third family was stay-home mom with the dad, and we lived above their sausage factory and downtown Stockholm. And the two young girls were like little sisters. So three completely different families, and downtown and suburbs and the whole bit. And that was the best. Like, it was really cool. And you may end up in a family where there are lots of kids or there are 0 kids. And it doesn't matter, because sometimes those older parents or single parents, they can do different things with you than those who have lots of kids in the house. So don't be shy about that. Like, don't be afraid of that. I guess the change is really good.
Can I just add on that real quick?
Absolutely.
Also, like, it might seem a little like weird to think about like moving from house to house, but it's actually like a really good part of the program, because like obviously you're gonna click with some people more than you do with others, like just compatibility wise. So it's nice that, if you don't necessarily like have that family click with one family, that you might have that with another family, rather than, being in a family that you're not super comfortable, like it doesn't really feel like home with for a whole year. And also, like, as an exchange student, you are kind of asking for a lot from a host family, especially like if you're asking for rides to go do stuff with friends, so it is kind of nice to have that, like, kind of like after 4 months, you kind of get to start over. So that also is kind of nice. So like, don't worry about that. And also, if you do really like your first or your second family, once you move, it doesn't mean you can't see them anymore. You can still, like what I did with my first host family, I only lived there for about a month and a half. But they're great people. So I would go over and would have dinner. I would go visit the cats, so you can still keep those connections even while you're not living there. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well said.
You really do become a part of your host families. That I remember, like, I called all my host parents, my mom, papa, because I still view them, especially like my last host family I was extremely close with, and I still talk to my mama Hekana all the time. That you really do become really involved with them, that they become part of your family. So
the bigger difficulty is when you come home and you're talking about your host parents and you say mom and dad to your real mom and dad, and you can see their backs get up because they're super jealous. You're like, what? I'm sorry, you call them mom and dad? Excuse me? What? That's the real problem, is trying to explain that to them afterwards.
But it is the most heartwarming thing, like as a mom who sent my son away out, it is the most heartwarming thing to actually hear him say that, because I know at that point he was so immersed in the culture and they treated him so much like their own that I think he still talks to them probably more than he talks to me some days. So it's really heartwarming as a parent to know that these people love your children so much and take care of them. It's tremendous. So
are there any other questions? I know there's parents on there as well. Parents, you're more than welcome to ask questions as well.
Ask away.
Maya, did your dad have any questions, or Nolan? I don't sure if anybody's there with you. No?
And it's all right if you don't. I mean, it is one of those things too, where sometimes you don't even know what questions you might have. And then you might hear another student talk about something, for example, and you go, oh, right, I never even thought to ask about that. So you can certainly, the whole process through, you're going to be asking lots of questions, and that's okay. You're going to be asking questions until the day you leave for your exchange, right? And that's a good thing, because you're going to get more information. Yeah.
Nolan has one, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Just wondering if the time you live Canada can vary depending on when the school year starts and like the country that you'd be going to.
It does a little bit. So some countries do have mandatory dates where they have them, especially if you're going to a language camp, they have dates where you are expected to arrive. For instance, like my son, when he went to Finland, he had a language camp that he had to arrive in Finland on August 4th between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. is literally when they were very, very specific, just so because they picked up all the students that were going to Finland at the same time. So there is some that will require that. There's some that do ask to come a little bit earlier, and there'll be some that say, you know what, the end of August is perfect for us because school doesn't start till a little bit after that. So you'll hear from them once you find out which country you're going to, and then specifically where you're going, your town or city, then you'll find out that information for that.
The earliest you would leave, so our conference, our third mandatory in-person conference, ends on about July 15th. So you wouldn't leave any sooner than that. You have to go to that conference. So usually our earliest students, who end up usually being the students that go to Brazil. So actually Julia was the first one, I think, in her year who left, actually. And she left, I think, July 21st, 22nd. Would that be right, Julia? Somewhere in there?
Yeah, the 23rd, yeah. July 23rd. Okay. 23rd. Yeah.
And so then on the flip side, our latest students, like Suzanne said, aren't usually going out end of August unless there's any, visa delays or something. Then you might be in September, but usually you're out before the end of August. Okay. And I thought Georgie maybe had a question earlier as well. No? Oh, sorry. I thought I saw your hand go up.
And feel free to send us a message like by email or text or call us anytime, because I'm sure your parents will have a million questions. So feel free to ask us at any point. We've been there, done that, so we don't mind answering in the least.
What I'm going to do, Suzanne, as well, is I'm going to put the youth exchange page, like the district page, in the chat, and I would recommend everybody just bookmark that for now, because it's got the preliminary application, which you don't need to worry about, but it's just got there's a really good FAQ that answers a whole bunch of questions, but then also it has contact info, so you can reach out to any of us if you'd like to. So I'm going to put that in the chat, so just click on that and make sure you bookmark it.
It's so nice to see both Julia and having Mariella and Natalia back, because we spent a lot of time together last year and getting ready and receiving, and it makes us really proud to hear you speak tonight. So well done.
Yes. It really does. It's always nice having it. I don't even feel like our inbounds now. I feel like they've just left, or they should still be here. That I feel like I saw them just like last month, but it's crazy to think that. So yeah, we come very, very close with the students that are inbound and the rebounds, and they become a part of us for sure. So it's really nice chatting with them and seeing them and how they're evolving back at home now and hearing about how they're doing. So
well, if there's no other questions, we're happy to wrap things up and just keep in touch, ask questions. There's our Facebook page, there's our Instagram account you can message us at, you can text us. Really, any way you want to get a hold of us, we'll find a way to get your message and get back to you. So yeah. All right.
Also, if any of you guys have like questions more from like a student perspective, feel free to reach out to me. I mean, I can put like my Instagram in the chat. You know, if anything comes up, even like after, like while you're on exchange or like during the whole training, you know, I'm happy to help. I've been there, done that kind of. And I know firsthand how like helpful it is to have someone more kind of like with that student perspective, not
Yeah,
to
you
hate
you
on
can say we're
Kurt.
old, Julia. We get it.
Um,
We're old. We
but
understand
it
loud
is
and
kind
clear.
of a
Yeah.
different experience
Oh,
talking to a 17-year-old
Oh,
than to adults. So if any of you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. I don't mind at all. I'd be happy to help. So
Thank you. And just because we had to
absolutely.
build our own raft to get to our countries because they hadn't discovered boats by then, does not mean this discrimination is okay. I just want you to know that, Julia.
oh, Julia, you know
I'm
he's
not that old.
joking.
Of course. All right. Well, we'll let everybody go. We'll let
Uh,
you have the rest of your night. But thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to,
Yes.
well, we hope to see all you at interviews in November and hear more from you.
Yes.
Thank
Suzanne,
you.
can you
Alright,
stay
take
on?
care,
I have a
everyone.
question for you. Great to see
Yeah, I can see
everybody.
us.
Take care. Nice meeting you all.
Bye,
Have a
guys.
great
Bye.
night.
thank you.
Julia,
Good
Natalia,
talk.
thank you so
Nice
much.
to meet you. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you,
Yes, and
Julia.
Julia too. Thank you.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
You too.
You too,
Take
Nolan.
care.
Bye.
Mhm.